Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Another year, another solar return. And it's interesting because I've been in deep meditation and contemplation the last few days preparing for today's event, and actually return is a big theme for this year. And I'm sure many of us are feeling it already in January as we begin. I'm super excited to be doing this annual themes event with you. It's actually our biggest themes event that we've done so far. So we have probably some people who haven't experienced a message from the Masters before. So welcome to you. And for those who are joining us again, we're so delighted to have you here and have your resonance as part of this co-creation today. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. If you do have any questions today, we will be inviting questions at some point throughout today's seminar, probably I would say after the first half. So if you do have a question that you'd like the Masters to answer, we may not be able to get to all of them because we have a very big group joining us today. But if you could not put them in the Q&A, but put them in the chat bar, that would be fantastic because I can't operate too many things at once while I'm channeling as well. It's a bit of a challenge. So thank you. And lots of people saying hello already. Hello, everyone. Lots of familiar faces there and names. So it's just delightful to have you with us. Okay, so I just want to start today talking a little bit about what the Masters have been sharing in the last few days about what we're currently going through right now with the energy. So I just wanted to put this in before we launch into the channel because many people have been contacting me in the last few days, and those of you who know me and have been with me for many years know that what I go through personally is usually a barometer for what's happening for humanity and the collective wave of consciousness at this time. So the last few days have been super intense for many people, and the themes continuing in the next few weeks about inviting everything back into your life. And while this may be a little bit uncomfortable for those themes and people and relationships and issues and traumas that you believe you may have released, resolved, and put to bed some time ago already, well, January is really bringing all of those back to us. And it's interesting because it's easy to feel sometimes that somehow you're regressing because there's old pains that have come up, old emotions that have come up. But this is actually a time where we're moving into fields of resonance. And because we are becoming, again, more magnetic in our operation, which is our true design as humans, we're designed to be magnetic beings. As we begin to ignite that magnetic capacity again, everything that we've experienced in life starts to come home to us. So at the moment, there are old faces coming back. There are old themes coming back. There are old issues coming back. And they're not coming back actually so that you release them, which is maybe counterintuitive and the opposite of perhaps what you may have thought. But when things are starting to come back to us now, they're coming back so that we can invite them back into our totality. And the Masters in our members webinar last week likened this to each moment in our life and each experience that we have like a pearl. And all these pearls are rolling back to us so that we can begin to see our lives as strings of individual moments and the perfection in each one of those moments. So when we begin to bring things back to ourselves, sometimes it doesn't feel like it's what we want. But in essence, that's happening so we can say, well, thank you. Thank you for this experience. Yes, I remember that. Yes, I can now acknowledge that as a complete experience in itself. Now, the great challenge there, of course, is that we tend to see our lives in terms of a linear progression. So it's easy for us to have one of these moments come back to us, or memories come back to us, or feelings come back to us, and start to measure ourselves from that in terms of a continuation. How far have I come since that? Who am I now compared to who I was then? And while that can be helpful in some respect, it can also impede us a little bit. Because as soon as we start to measure where we are now in terms of what that memory or experience was as it returns to us, it's very, very easy for us to start to feel that somehow, there's that Maya, that distance. And rather than measure ourselves in terms of this linear progression, it's much more valuable at this time to see that as a gathering. We're collecting another aspect of ourselves and see everything as a complete moment that's gathering and bringing us into totality. So less judgment of yourself and measurement for where you are now compared to what's returning to you. And also remembering that all of these different aspects and versions of you are coming back now so that you can become more of yourself. Because even those aspects of yourself that you didn't like in those moments, or the relationships that you didn't enjoy, or those memories that have been disruptive or traumatic for you, they're all aspects of yourself and versions of yourself that make up the multidimensional you. And in order for us to move forward into totality, into a new era of creation, you actually need all of those aspects of you. Now, the other thing that's happening right now too, which I'm sure many of you will be relating to, is an incredible sense of isolation. And this sense of isolation and loneliness is actually encouraging us to start to connect and start to feel resonance with those who are really in alignment with who we are as in our totality, which means that we're less likely to want to be connecting with people who we feel we're judged by or who we feel that we're less than around. It's very easy, the more sensitive and the more energetically conscious you are, to actually have more judgment of yourself. And so it's easy to think that other people are judging you because perhaps you're not in a great space right now, or perhaps you're experiencing some of this return of these multiple aspects to yourself. So part of what's happening here is that as things are returning to you, what you're discovering is that there's a whole new field of resonance that's beginning. Now, the masters have talked before about us moving into fields of resonance and creating in fields and communities of resonance as we move forward. And what that actually means is that you can't really discover your resonance until all of you is there. And this is a really interesting concept that I've been playing with recently, because what I have found in the past is that things have moved in resonance with me and then they weren't in resonance with me. And the people that I thought I could really create things with, they started to move away. And while this is really fantastic in terms of learning about non-attachment and impermanence, we really are moving into more of a sustained creation energy for the next 50 years on the planet, which means that we're necessarily going to need more sustainable periods of resonance. So how is it that you create a sustainable field of resonance, or actually find resonance that's going to have a little bit of longevity in it in terms of our linear time and space? Well, the more aspects of yourself that return to you now, and you can actually embrace and collect as a total part of yourself, the more the resonance field that you're creating and the more that others are coming into resonance with you are in alignment with all that you are, rather than whatever aspect you're presenting as, whatever aspect you're expressing at this particular time. So that's exciting. Masters have also been sharing a little bit about how many of us at this time are feeling frustrated because it may seem as if things are coming so close to you and still just a little bit out of reach, and then they move away. Things coming close to you, you can see it, you can taste it, you can feel it, and then it moves away again. And what I discovered about this in the last few days through some internal conversations with the masters is that what's happening here is that the more complete you become in your own consciousness and your own self-awareness, things start to move towards you, and then they go through their own return, their own revolution. And so what you'll discover is that there are people that you're drawn to at this time, or experiences that you're wanting, or perhaps groups that you're wanting to engage with, and you feel like you get close to it, or that they get close to you, and then it separates a little bit. And while that can feel really frustrating, understand that while you're going through your own revolution, gathering all of your aspects back to yourself, others are doing the same, which means that this is a time where we can really see and greet each other, but it's also a very difficult time to actually start to come together and create. It's very difficult to start anything at this time, because the more we move into this collective field of resonance, the more gathering that's going on of all of the aspects of ourselves, so that we can actually begin to create a humanity that has a more sustainable field of resonance, which is good news for all of us, because I think all of us feel as if we've been bouncing around all over the place in at least the last 5 years while we've been going through this collective evolution, let's call it. Okay, so I hope that was helpful to begin today. I just wanted to set the tone with embracing you all and sharing what we're experiencing collectively, energetically, and personally at this time. Because as you know, the more evolved we become with our consciousness, the more our personal experience begins to reflect the collective experience and vice versa. All right, so we're just about to dive in. Hopefully everyone can see and hear me just fine. I'm assuming that if you couldn't, someone would have sent me a message in chat. So great. Thank you very much. All right, so we're going to dive in. Greetings to you, blessed ones, we are with you. Oh yes, indeed, it is a glorious moment. It is a glorious moment of gathering. And indeed, this is the year of gathering. But it is not gathering in a way that you have known. It is a gathering in consciousness that is in agreement and resonance, because if you are to indeed create a new earth reality, which you are already beginning to, it requires an understanding of what resonance really is. And resonance, as you have understood it, has to do with an agreement, but not an agreement for purpose or for cause, an agreement in vibrational capacity. Now, when we say vibrational capacity, that is very different to knowing what your vibration is. And so many humans are interested in identifying compatibility in terms of something that can be referenced to what is already known. So if you would say to us, well, I know what my vibration is, I know who I am, and therefore I can discern what is in resonance with me and what is not, we would say unto you that you have misunderstood. Because if your human mind can say, well, I know what this resonance is, I know what my vibration is, I know what my identity is, you are only offering one small aspect of yourself into a field of resonance for a collective creation. And indeed, it is the essence and the totality of the human creative capacity across a very broad bandwidth, the very broad spectrum of vibration that is indeed looking for resonance at this time. If you could imagine that you have many strings on a violin or many keys on a keyboard, imagine if you were only creating resonance from one string or one key. It would very much limit your ability to create communities. It would very much limit your ability to find resonant coherence with humanity. But because this is a collective shift, and it is collective in nature for your planetary consciousness, it is a necessity for the entire bandwidth, the entire spectrum of your vibration, all of the aspects of self, all of your experiences as a broad field of experience, a broad field of vibration. It is necessary for all of that to become available to your awareness so that the resonance can be created in a similar format. Well, of course, it makes sense to you. Because otherwise you would begin to have factionalization again within your new earth reality. You would begin to have communities again that are identified within particular tonalities, identified within particular spectrums of vibration, rather than creating a humanity and a global consciousness whereby the resonance is based on a very broad spectrum of agreement. A broad spectrum of agreement is one that is inclusive, and is one that embraces all aspects of life. It is not one that is judgmental nor requires segregation. So this is why for humans in 2022, 2022, it is all about being open-hearted and actually accepting every aspect of yourself, whether you are comfortable with it or not, so that you can become a very broad spectrum of vibration and begin to create a new reality of resonance for a broad spectrum of human experience. Now, it's a common question in such a context for a human to ask, well, do we really want to create a new earth reality with such a broad spectrum of vibration? Because what you believe you have experienced already is a broad spectrum of vibration and experience. Yet what we say unto you is that the field of awareness for the new earth reality is far more embodied of the larger bandwidth of light that is available than what you have already experienced. If we were to compare this to a keyboard or an instrument, we would say that the human earth experience up until this point has been limited to a particular octave of experience and awareness, whereby now your ability to embrace all aspects of self will widen that range so that there will be more experience, more availability within the blueprints for humanity that is yet to experience life. So this is a very important time, because what you discover is the instrument of the individual human in its ability to broaden its spectrum of experience becomes then the tonality and the hallmark of the humanity that is arriving. Indeed, blessed ones, if you are here physically at this time in your world, it is you that is setting the key and is setting the tone for what is to come. Acceptance of self is incredibly important at this time. And here you find yourselves in a world of division and the peak of duality, where there is very much a conflict within judgment and within a spectrum of vibration. There are those of you who would say, I do not want to engage with this particular range of frequencies. I only wish to engage with this range of frequencies. And there are those that would say, I do not wish for this range of frequencies to enter the earth reality because it will disrupt any constructs and organizations that have been constructed on this range of frequencies. And so what you have at this time is that you have a survival mentality and a survival approach that is occurring. Now you may say unto us, but if my vibration is very fine, if my vibration is very what you call high, then I will not be so interested in excluding anything. And yet what you will discover is that there are those who believe their vibrations to be very fine that are doing their best to protect themselves from other bandwidths of frequency. Indeed, it is inevitable that you must gather and you must include and you must invite all aspects of frequency at this time together. And this is why we call 2022 the year of the gathering. Because the year of the gathering is not just a year when all of your galactic partners are beginning to gather in a more tangible, in a more palpable way within your frequency. But it is also a year where that which you would wish to leave behind, that which you would wish to release yourself from, will also gather in the same place. Of course, because in order for anything new to begin, all must return to the center point. And there is no center point more powerful than the human heart, because the human heart at this time has the capacity to be able to accommodate the all. This is the true nature and power of the human system. So blessed ones, each and every one of you are the 0 point, are the home that all things are returning to. So it is wise for you in this year 2022 to be very gentle with yourself. Be very gentle with yourself. And what you will discover is that it is a year to be gentle with the physicality. It is a year to be gentle with the mind. But it is not a year to be gentle with the heart. It is a year to be very bold and courageous with the heart. One of the greatest challenges for the human in 2022 is how to be open-hearted. Now you may say unto us, but I am open-hearted. And what we would say to you is that most humans, including those who are very awakened, are open-hearted within a particular range of frequency. And as soon as something enters your field of awareness or enters your sensorial capacity that is of a range of frequency that you do not enjoy the feeling of, or you do not enjoy the comfort of, it is very natural for you to move into protection. It is very natural for you to move into contraction. And indeed, this is the pain and discomfort that many of you are experiencing in recent days and recent weeks, and will continue to be challenged with in 2022, because the challenge is to remain open and welcome that which you sense is in discordance with you. Now, this is very important. Why? Because when you understand the true magnetic nature of yourself, when you understand that being open-hearted in the face of that which you find uncomfortable, discordant, abhorrent, is incredibly transformative. If you can remain open-hearted, you actually begin to truly ignite your magnetic capacity. You actually begin to truly ignite the truth of your existence as a human. And this is where the alchemy is. Because that which comes close to you is often something that comes in disguise. That which you in the beginning attracted to. That which seems like it's in coherence with you. And then the closer it gets to you, suddenly more is revealed. Hasn't this been the theme in your world in recent years? Looks attractive, and the closer it gets to you, more is revealed. This is the power of the magnetic heart, because as it comes close to you, it reveals itself. And that is your challenge in that moment. Will you contract? Will you contract and become an echo of this energy, of that which is coming towards you? Or will you remain open-hearted and transformative? Because if you can do this and understand that you are not in harm's way, it comes closer to you, and then it revolves back around on itself. And it too goes through its own transformation. And that's when true resonance is created. So there are many things that will come towards you that you will begin to see the truth revealed in. The closer it comes to you, the closer it comes to you. Be ye not afraid. When you begin to see the greater bandwidth that is there, instead trust in that moment that it can only come close enough to you to turn back around on itself and complete its own cycle of revolution. And when it completes its own cycle of revolution, its own introspection, its own gathering, its own sense of completion, then it rises in resonance with you. So, blessed ones, be very clear that you remain open-hearted, because this is what will actually ignite the completion and the revolution that will begin to birth the new fields of resonance that are sustainable fields of resonance within your world. So for 2022, blessed ones, the year of the gathering, it is a year when things come close to you, turn back around on themselves, and then move into resonance. It is the year when many things that you believe you have lost will return, and return in a new sense of agreement, a new sense of coherence. There are many things that you believe have been lost unto you that will return, but return in a new way, in a new formation. A dream that you believe that has been lost that returns in its fullness. This is very important for you. The seeds that you have sown long ago in your consciousness now return. But there is patience that is required. There is an open-heartedness that is required. It is so easy for the human to become disappointed when you become so close to what it is that you desire and then disillusioned. Remember that that is the moment, if you can stay open-hearted, where the revolution begins so that resonance can be the result. So it is a year 2022, both of a sense of disappointment and disillusionment, but also of renewed hope, because the seeds, as we say, that have already been planted now begin to bloom. So while in the first months of 2022, there can be a great desire for your mind to be anywhere other than where you are, it is your heart that will desire for you to stay in your own field. It will be your heart that desires for you to be patient. It will be your heart that desires for you to allow other things to come to their own sense of completion before they return to you in resonance. Oh, yes. So how will this appear for you in terms of your structural reality? Because humans always like to understand and know how this will appear within your practical reality. We very much enjoy the word practical. It's very amusing to us. So when you talk about your practical reality and you talk about the structures and systems on your planet, you're also going to see this theme with your structures and systems, because what you're going to see is that things that appear beneficial to you can come very close to you, then disappear, turning around on themselves, and then return in a new form. So reformation is very apparent within your practical earth reality in 2022. Reformation of structures and systems, reformation of governmental organization, reformation of economy. And what is very interesting is that this reformation, of course, has already begun and began in 2017, but the appearance is still of the old. And we want to be very clear that the seeds that have been planted are actually going to begin to sprout. The question for you is, where is your attention? Because if your attention is on watching in the distance, what is emerging, what is new, what is happening, where is the change, where is the structural stimulation? What you're going to discover is that you're not going to notice, and you're going to miss the new shoots that are appearing in the ground right where your feet are. Because remember, the seeds that have been planted for the new earth humanity can only appear within an environment of resonance. And the greatest experience of resonance you have at this time is resonance with yourself, resonance with all aspects of yourself, agreement and peace and loving open-heartedness with yourself. Therefore, in terms of your practical reality and your systemization and structures, look very close to where you are. Do not be tempted to look in lands that are far away. Do not be tempted to look at what is happening beyond yourself. Look at what is happening in your immediate environment. This is very important. What is happening in your immediate environment? Now, this can mean family, it can mean friends, it can mean your working environment, it can mean your community, but it's even closer than that. What is happening within yourself at this time? What are you feeling at this time? What are you beginning to sense that is new at this time? What is happening with your own environment in terms of your economy, in terms of your sovereignty, in terms of the rules? How many of you are beginning to exist beyond rules? How many of you are beginning to make decisions spontaneously? And so what you discover is that your range for viewing the new earth reality, hear our words, the range for viewing your new earth reality begins here and moves outwards, which means that you will begin to see the new earth reality sprout very close to you. And the more you can be in joy with the tiniest suggestions, glimpses, the way the light is different, the way sound is different, the way your body is changing, the way you are noticing things, the way you're embracing things. The closer you notice it to yourself, the more you then have the ability to extend your range of viewing and begin to see it beyond you into your exterior reality. This is also a part of the creation process for the new earth reality. It must begin the closest to yourself. Now, why is it that so many of you feel incredibly isolated at this time? Well, it's perfect, because if you're feeling isolated, your attention is less likely to be on someone else or on something else, and it's more likely to be here where the shoots of the new earth reality can first be viewed. Of course, it's all perfect. So it is akin to a small child entering a new world. When the infant is born, it takes time for them to begin to see, to begin to sense, to begin to switch their senses onto a completely new earth, a completely new reality. They notice that which is closest to them first, and then gradually they learn how to extend their vision and encompass a new reality. And it is the same for you at this time. Notice it closest to you. Notice how food tastes different. Notice how your skin is different. Notice the new things that are appearing in your garden. Notice how new things are being delivered to your home. Notice new sounds. Many of you will be experiencing new neighbors, new people, new faces, Interesting. Very important at this time. We also want to be clear that it is the same with your political and your economic experience. Notice the changes closest to you first, and then the vision begins to roll outwards. So while it is tempting to look for evidence of change out in the macroscopic field, you will find it first where you are. And indeed, this is the way that worlds are created. We also want to be very clear that this is a year where, because your vision is adjusting closest to you for the new earth reality first, you will be very much focused upon your own health. Now, what do we mean by health? What we mean by health, or what humans call health, we call awareness of self. How is your physicality experiencing this day? How is your emotional state feeling this day? How is your thinking on this day? And while you may say that this is health, we would say it's adjusting your vision to a new earth reality, because if you can do this, you're going to start to notice that you're operating differently. You're going to start to notice that your thoughts are different. You're going to start to notice that your feelings are different. You're going to start to notice that time is different. You're going to start to notice that sound is different. You are, in essence, blessed ones, holding as marker points for a new earth map, a new earth reality, holding this map together with your awareness. And as your awareness is with yourself, more and more humans can go through their own revolution and move into resonance and begin to appear within this reality also. It's a wonderful, wonderful time for humanity, but patience And we say it again a third time. Do not look to evidence out in the macroscopic field. Look to evidence of the new earth reality where you are. So we shall begin to open for questions at this time, because we are aware that you are co-creators with us. Of course, that is the joy of being human and the joy of your new earth reality. Here is a question. Could you speak to the delicate balance between loving, open-hearted support of others with self-care? Well, because being open-hearted, blessed ones, is not necessarily about intent for change. And this is a very important point. Humans often believe that being open-hearted means having intent for change. Now, what do we mean by this? We mean that if someone comes towards you and they are in pain, or they are in suffering, or there is something that you believe is discordant with you, the natural mental construct and your conditioning would say, let us be open-hearted so that we can adjust it. And yet what is important for you here is to be open-hearted and be the witness. Be the witness. Because the more open-hearted you are, the more your magnetic field becomes activated, and the more the other person or the other aspect or the other situation can actually start to move into resonance with that. It can come so close to you sometimes you feel as if you might collide, and then it turns around in on itself into a cycle of completion. So being open-hearted is not exposing yourself to danger. It's actually fortifying your magnetic field of resonance. So only that which is in complete resonance with you can come into contact with you. Things can come very close, but then they move away. Things can come very close, but then they move away. Hence why so many of you are feeling isolated at this time. When you remain open-hearted, even in the face of dissonance, it guarantees that only that which is in resonance with you can actually come together to create something new. And so many of you are ready to create new, are you not? Of course. In this way, there is no trial and error. In this way, there is no risk. So vulnerability is not exposing yourself to that which is not resonant. Vulnerability is the complete open-hearted activation of your magnetic truth. In this way, 2022 is a year of gathering and departures, arrivals and departures, whereby there is a mass remapping of resonance fields on the planet. Of course, because there is an interim period on the earth whereby there are, we would say, non-permanent fields of resonance that begin to occur. So there is a rearrangement that is happening. You're moving in and out of resonance. It's not a complete resonance. It's more of a navigating, discovering what it feels like to be in resonance, which means that there will be those who are close with you who move away. There will be projects that collapse. There will be things that feel as if they are separated for you, but likewise there are new faces, new gatherings, new experiences of coherence, new opportunities, new doorways. So there's a mass movement at this time as the earth completely redesigns itself in preparation for a new system of resonance, of magnetic resonance. So when you ask us, how do we support others with self-care and balance it with self-care? We will say unto you, your ability to be open-hearted is your ability to support others, but it is not driven by action or by a desire to change them, only a desire to maintain your own magnetic field. How do I go beyond my fear and stubbornness to never do this again or never have it done to me again? Well, this is very interesting and very on point, blessed one. We thank you for your comment, because what's happening at this time is you're becoming very aware of things that you never want to do again. And that's why we began our conversation with this discussion about that which you believe you're complete with coming back again at this time. Now, what we say unto you is that it's not so that you can decide never to do it again, because that's a mental construct based on survival. What we would say is that it's coming into your your awareness again, so that you can actually congratulate yourself and actually embody and welcome back to you that aspect of yourself, who you were in that experience. Because what you'll discover is that this is actually about forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself. And when you forgive yourself, you actually embrace that version of yourself, that aspect of who you were in that moment, and you invite it back home into your totality so that the bandwidth of your vibrational spectrum can widen. And that's what you really want, blessed ones. You don't want to be existing just on one particular vibration. Your ability to be universal and multidimensional means that you have the ability to embrace a wide range of vibrations. That's how humans find balance. And what you want is the balance of the magnetic field, which requires a bandwidth of vibration, not just limiting yourself to one particular vibrationary range. So when these things come back to you and these awarenesses of yourself come back to you, acknowledge who you were in that moment. It's a perfect pearl returning to your string. We welcome you. You did the best that you could. I forgive you. Come home to me so that we can be more complete. The closest aspects with changes I'm witnessing have to do with the body and the way I see light. Body changes are upgrades of organ systems. Please share with us how we are maximizing the engagement with the electromagnetic spectrum of light rays with our attention and focus and being. Well, it's happening anyway. How are you maximizing your engagement with it? What we would say is that you are it. And that's why we say to you, always look for evidence closest to you. So it's easy for you, perhaps if you're a practitioner, to observe it in others. Remember what we have said unto you, I observe it in others, is looking beyond the closest range. It can be helpful for you because it can reference what is happening with yourself. But what we would suggest to you and others like you, Blessed One, is that you actually begin to feel it within your own body, because that's what embodiment is. Yes, you can see it, but how do you feel it in the closest range available to you? How do you actually reference what you can view here with your own experience? Because this is what is bringing all the awareness back to self so that you become the living God, once again, that you were designed to be. For many of us, the last 2 or 3 years has been challenging to us financially due to macroscopic events. Has that time been the seeding of our creations? Yes. If so, is 2022 when that which we've been seeding starts to manifest physically? Well, yes, but we say unto you, look for it closest to yourself. How is it that creation is appearing closest to me? How is it that that which I require for my sustenance is becoming immediately available? Very, very important to you. How are all your needs being met in this current moment? Always look closest to you, because the seeds of the new earth reality appear from within you. The human is the portal of consciousness. It's the portal that brings source energy into your world. And so, of course, it's going to appear within you first. How are you still optimistic despite the hardship? How do you still feel hope? How do you still feel the possibility for new life and expansiveness in the face of a presentation of destruction, completion, depletion, and scarcity? How is it that what you sense in your heart is in opposition to what you see in the macroscopic view? Very important. Always bring it back to yourself. The economy, as you know it, has a two-tiered system occurring at this time, just as the timelines are offering you a two-tiered experience. How many of you will notice that there are 2 speeds of time at this time? Your days can seem very, very long, but the weeks can move around very, very quickly. There are 2 speeds. It is exactly the same with all your systems and structures at this time. There are 2 speeds. There are 2 structures. So even with what you experience in your exterior macroscopic reality in terms of your economic and political structures, let us say unto you that there is also another version that is present, but you can only feel it within yourself at this time because it's not apparent and it's not terribly visible at this time. Remember, always look to it closer to yourself, because that's where it becomes apparent first. This is where optimism, hope, and creation all combine into one experience. Does the bringing together of all aspects of self include bringing into self the aspects of ancestry? Yes, of course. Of course. The human DNA in itself is designed to actually allow you to access everything that ever has been and everything that ever will be, every version of yourself. Because even in terms of your genealogy and your inheritance, that is all aspects of yourself. So if aspects of your ancestry is coming into your awareness at this time, it is a part of the gathering. Welcome it to you. It's another pearl to add to the string. It's another aspect. And it can be very, very useful at this time, because as you become more conscious and your bandwidth of vibration expands so that the new earth reality can bloom, you will find that many of the attributes and skills that are available to you through your ancestry are now fully available within your conscious awareness. It's not just trauma that you inherit, blessed ones. What an interesting belief that is. You also inherit the wealth of experience. You inherit the wealth of wisdom of all that you have ever been and all that you ever have been. Why would you not use this time to be patient and to explore that possibility? It's all available exactly where you are. I often see light in different colors above my eyes. Would you speak on what this is? Well, we would say unto you that light is everywhere, and there are multiple bandwidths, multiple spectrums, multiple vibrations that are available to you at this time, because this is a time of the gathering, the great convergence. So of course, it becomes apparent. What have we said on this day? The closest to you, the closest to you. So you begin to see these things in your periphery, in your vision. The closest to you is where you begin to see it first. I have noticed last week in healing sessions that beliefs of guilt, there are pulling beliefs of guilt and replacing them with permission. I had to get my client to agree to beliefs and walk right through it. Once we've done this exercise, I've seen an explosion in my client. It was beautiful to witness and felt much more powerful than usual cancellations of belief systems. Yes, because if you're trying to reject, cancel, purge, or release anything at this time, guess what's going to happen? It's going to circle back around and come back to you again. It's going to keep coming back to you, keep coming back to you, unless you remain open in your magnetic heart space, allow it to turn back in on itself, and then embrace it as a part of you. It's the embracing, it's the gathering, not the rejection or the purging. And so that's why so many humans at this time are going through a remembrance experience, and that which you believed you have released keeps coming back to you. Every time you try to reject it, it keeps coming back to you. Remaining open-hearted, allowing it to come as close as it can, and then allowing it to turn back around on itself will move it into resonance with you. And then that is the great gathering. For those of us who are more sensitive to thoughts and feelings outside of us or in the collective, how do we manage to avoid being overwhelmed? Well, again, the more open-hearted you are, you begin to feel your energy move out from yourself rather than actually absorbing anything. So when we use the term gathering, the gathering only occurs, the merging of those aspects of self only come back to you once they have completed their evolution and are in complete resonance and agreement with you. Until that moment, it is wise for you to trust and understand the mechanics of the cosmos, whereby nothing that is not in resonance with you can actually merge with you. This is very important. So if you know this, you can feel safe in your open-heartedness. Know that your energy moves outwards, and only that which is a resonant match with you can merge with you. Everything else just comes close and then turns around into its own revolution until it can move into resonance with you, and then it merges with you. So there's no protection per se that is required here. Only a willingness to stay open-hearted. Only a willingness to let something come so close to you and look it in the eye and say, hello, I know you, but I know who I am. Very important, blessed ones. So being overwhelmed happens because humans are taught to absorb. You absorb information, you absorb knowledge, you absorb wisdom, you absorb your environment. And yet you are not here to be cosmic vacuum cleaners, blessed ones. No, no, you are here to actually create. And so this is what the great reversal is all about. This is the movement from the electrical human to the magnetic human, where you begin to emit. And you can only merge with that which is in complete resonance with you. Let your knowing of this become your safety. I am suddenly beset with broken bones, pain in heels, cysts in thumb, more intensely in the last few months. Significant? Well, yes, of course, because remember, just as you're having emotional aspects and memories and traumas and relationships and projects come back so they can move into their own revolution of completion, understand that it's also the same for your physical experience. That's why many of you at this time are having old injuries, old illnesses, old physical ailments that are coming back into your awareness and your experience again. What are you doing with them? Are you trying to get rid of them? Are you rejecting them? Or are you watching them come so close to you, remaining open-hearted and expansive, allowing it to go through its own revolution of completion before it merges with you and becomes one? It's exactly the same premise. It's just with your physical aspect. That's why many of you are feeling many physical discomforts at this time. Remember, it's just a gathering. That's a pearl, that's a pearl, that's a pearl. Thank you very much. Can we as a humanity create whereby the indigenous tribes on earth who innately hold wisdom of nurturing and care are returned to their lands, which at this moment in time are in great destruction? Well, that's interesting, because what we say unto you is it's easy to believe that the earth is in destruction. And yet what we say unto you is that the new seeds are sprouting. It's a question of where you believe your attention is. And just as we have suggested to you that there is a great reorganization that is happening in terms of resonance, and new communities are being formed in terms of resonance, particularly within the next 5 to 20 years on your planet, you're going to begin to see new experiences of the earth reality, new experiences of land formations, new species, new plant life that are beginning to sprout just where you are. So we are not concerned as you are with the physicality of the earth, because we understand the physicality of the earth is entirely dependent upon the bandwidth of vibration from which you are viewing it. Can we transmute back to source resonance that is not in vibration with us, as opposed to us absorbing like a vacuum cleaner? Well, we say unto you that the truth of you is that you are source, you are resonant as that, but your attention has been on that which is not resonant for you, because humans have been conditioned to believe that they must work with that which is not resonant, rather than create with that which is resonant. Isn't that interesting? How many lifetimes have humans spent working with that which is not in resonance, rather than getting on with creating with that which is in resonance with you? That's very interesting, isn't it? We think so. Be ye not vacuum cleaners, blessed one. Be ye the creators. Can you please address the power of sexual energy manifesting with sexual energy and sex magic? Interesting terms. As we move more into the new earth and raise our consciousness, how will our sexuality and the way we express it change? Well, sexual energy, of course, is incredibly powerful creative force. It is in the innate manifestation of creativity within your physical form. What we want to say to you is that, in agreement with the statement we just made about humans being distracted by working with rather than creating with, it is exactly the same in terms of sexual energy, because humans have become so distracted with opposition and working with electrical currents, directing their sexual energy in terms of electricity. What you discover is that many humans have actually become depleted through the use and direction of their sexual energy, because they're usually directing it away from themselves rather than actually understanding the magnetic principle of it. Therefore, what we say unto you is that part of the new earth reality shift is that humans are going to begin to understand that the sexual energy that they are embodying is actually designed to create with resonance rather than through this chemical, electrical experience that so many humans have been having. For many humans, sexual attraction has been an attraction of opposition. It has been attraction of electrical current, of charge, of releasing charge, and then feeling depleted, rather than a sustainable creative force that is based upon resonance. What might romantic partnerships and relationships and families look like in the new earth? Well, what we say is that they are creative agreements, because so many times you may feel as if you're beginning a family or a partnership with a desire to feel complete, but actually the premise for relationships in the new earth reality is about what is the field of resonance here that can allow us to continually create, rather than the current blueprint or model that has been around for around 300,000 years or so, which has been about, let's come together and create. Perhaps there's a home, perhaps there's some adventures, perhaps there's some children, and then the creation stops, and then it's just maintenance of what you've already created. So the creation period is very short-lived. Whereas the communities and relationships and families of the new earth reality are more about this sustainable resonance that we've been speaking about, whereby it's a continual expansion and creation. And the very basis of your relationships is, are we still creating together? Because as soon as you get into maintenance of your creations, you're distracted from the act of creation itself. So will my interest in sex return? Well, we say unto you, that all depends on what you believe sex is. Because if it's actually creating chemistry and it's electrical charge, then it's unlikely that your interest in that will return. But when it becomes a creative force, I want to experience more of myself. I want to actually feel what it feels like to actually sit in the field of resonance with somebody. Then yes, that will inherently begin to become a part of your daily expression. Now, sexual energy doesn't need to be an energy that's released. It's an energy that's all about, I wonder what else is possible in this moment. And it's a physical experience of that energy. That would apply to work as well. Yes, we would say that is so. Work is creation, creation is work, and yet humans have seen them as opposite, because work has involved sacrifice and the maintenance of creations, whereas creation itself is a naturally occurring expression of energy. How can you differentiate who is good and who is evil in this world, in this political experience? So you can see through it and see the new sprouts of change that is real. We would say unto you, if you don't know what to believe, don't believe any of it. Don't believe the good and don't believe the evil. Look beyond it. Beyond it. And when we say look beyond it, look to the possibilities. Do not become distracted by the divisive game that is unfolding. It's not about discerning what is good and what is evil. If you don't know what to believe, don't believe any of it. Believe yourself. Believe what is happening exactly where you are. Bring your attention back to being open-hearted. And then what you will discover is that the curtains that hold the stage of the play of good and evil will part. And then you'll begin to see what it is that you truly desire to experience. Because good and evil at this time are like the two curtains on the stage. And there are many actors in front of those curtains, and they are playing things out, and they are very distracting. But if you don't know who to believe, allow the curtains to part. Now what can you see? Be very aware of where you put your attention. I've noticed random cuts, bruises, and red spots coming up on the body. Is this associated with the returning mentioned previously? We would say, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so what will you do? Will you remain open-hearted? Oh, I see this. Let us gather back to ourselves. Interesting. Do not seek to purge, blessed ones, not at this time. Instead, seek to embrace. How much can you love that cut and bruise? How much can you embrace that spot or that anomaly on your body? Who were you the first time that happened? That aspect of self is returning to you. So if I feel out of resonance with a friend and I ask to take some space or take my own space, is that me pushing away? No, blessed one, it is saying, I see you and I see you from my space. So there are moments where, of course, you want personal space, but remember, you can also have personal space within the company of another. It's up to you whether or not you choose to do that. There is no one way that is better than another, but just know that how you can experience your own vibration, because this is actually not a question here about physical space. It's a question about how do I take my attention away from the vibration of the other person and focus it back on myself. And indeed, it is a practice, but it is also your capacity to be with another, or indeed be with a whole group of people, or indeed be within an arena or a crowd of people and still only feel your own vibration. That's what mastery is. So we would invite you, blessed one, because we can see that you like your space, as does this one. And as we remind this one daily, you do not need to be on your own to know what it feels like to be you. Indeed, the New Earth reality is about humans understanding and remembering how to completely feel their own vibration amongst others, because that's how you begin to operate within resonance. That's how you begin to experience others in resonance. So, wonderful question, blessed one. What we advise you and others like you is to begin to practice. Here is a person I am sitting with and speaking to. Do I feel them, or can I only feel myself? And this is usually when you begin to feel your magnetic form, and you begin to become very open-hearted. So it doesn't matter what space the other person is in. It doesn't matter what emotional state they are in, or how demanding they appear to be, or what kind of energy they are expressing, because all you can feel is your own heart. Yes. And that's when you begin to walk like a master. And that's when you begin to be the living God. And that's when your friend now turns back in on themselves and becomes aware and goes through their own cycle of revolution, which is what you would wish for them. You would only wish for them to come into their own sense of self, would you not? What a gift your own presence is in such a situation. I am imagining that my loneliness has actually been a longing for all parts of myself. Would you agree? Yes, we would agree. And so welcome yourself back. You are awakening into a new earth reality. Blessed ones, it is our joy to be with you on this day. Indeed, it is our joy to be with you in every moment. Your great opportunity in 2022 is to find the joy in being with yourself, perhaps even in the company of others. To welcome all aspects of self back to you. This is the gathering. To know that this is a year of patience. To know that the rush of excitement to begin to create again will be upon you in April. And to know that in January, it is a time to be very forgiving of yourself and to welcome all aspects of self back to you, who you were during those moments of discomfort and trauma. Welcome all physical ailments back to you. as the collapsing of the timelines converge into the void, into the creative space, into the magnetic human that you are becoming. Peace be with you, blessed ones. Okay. Wow, that went really quickly. Always feels like just a few minutes when we move into that space. So I just want to thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate you all being here. It was a co-creation. All of our energy brought this into being today. We birthed it together. Thank you for your amazing questions. They were such beautiful, important, poignant questions, which I feel has helped everybody that has been here with us today and who will be listening to this as our New Earth reality unfolds. If you weren't able to join us today, you'll be getting the recordings, and I'll likely put this up on YouTube for you as well. So if you would like to explore more with us in the future, just go to my website, rebeccadawson.net. We have a membership where we do webinars like this every month for members, plus meditations and bonus content. And as always, I'm updating and bringing new content to you all the time, as and when the masters come through. Thanks very much, everyone. Have an awesome day. And I look forward to seeing you more in 2022. Bye.